Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We are previewing one of the most exciting and really star-studded recruiting weekends that you see every single year, and that is Champ U Barbecue put on by the Oklahoma Sooners. They're going to have 20-plus prospects on campus taking their official visits. We're going to be breaking down some of the prospects that they'll be having on campus, some of the guys that we think they're getting some big traction with, and what this 2024 class could really be. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially the Sooner fans. You guys have been awesome, whether we're talking high school recruiting, whether we're talking transfer portal. The support you guys have shown truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. You guys know I will do my best to keep you updated on all things recruiting. You know I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to that talent acquisition phase of college football. So again, lock in if you do enjoy the content. And for Sooner fans, I think it's going to be a busy next couple of weeks as you wrap up these official visits and the commitments start coming in. Without further ado, let's get into just the raw talent. And what I kind of want to start with what Oklahoma is trying to do in this 2024 class. And I can see the worry for Sooner fans as you have 6 commitments. You're not in the top 35 nationally for your recruiting class. That being said, I wouldn't worry too much. The quality of players that Oklahoma is going after, it's awfully hard to get some of these guys to wrap up their recruitments this early. And again, you see it, just because someone's verbally committed to a school does not mean that they're going to be verbally committed or signing the paper to go to that school when it comes to national signing day. Now more than ever, this recruiting process truly does go up until December. And you're seeing a clear approach of what Brent Venables wants to do with this 2024 class. And I saw you saw some precursors of it when what he was doing in the transfer portal, addressing that defensive line. You go back to Brent Venables in his glory days coaching defense at Clemson. It started up front. You think about all the All-Americans, the NFL draft picks that they developed at Clemson. The reason that Clemson defense, or one of the reasons that Clemson defense was so dominant for so long, was they recruited the defensive line extremely well, and they developed the defensive line position really, really well. And I think you saw some growing pains with that OU defense in 2022. I think that was largely because they didn't really have the personnel that I think Brent Venables wanted to run that defense. And so what do you see him go do in this transfer portal? Addresses that defensive line in a massive, massive way. I believe bringing in 4 or 5 really quality dudes. Rondo Bothroyd being my favorite one. Sooner fans, if you guys have been listening to me, you know how high I am on a guy like Rondo Bothroyd, but you're also seeing him say, we want this to be this isn't just a 1-year thing. We want Oklahoma to be defensive line U when Brent Venables is there. And you're seeing him prioritize that defensive line position. And you take a look and kind of project some of the most important prospects that'll be on campus for Oklahoma. It starts with David Stone, the 5-star defensive lineman. Every single Sooner fan listening to this knows who David Stone is. It does seem like Oklahoma is still in the driver's seat for his commitment, taking visits to Miami, taking visits to Florida. That's going to happen. And when you're a top 10 dude nationally, one of the most talented players in the class, you're going to be courted by every single Power 5 team in the country. Why is David Stone's commitment taking so long? Because he wants to go check out these programs. But and we've talked about this a lot, I am such a fan of what Oklahoma has on their recruiting staff in terms of position coaches, Miguel Chavis being one of those guys. In terms of building relationships, I don't know if there's many better coaches across the country than Miguel Chavis. And you look, Williams Emaneri, another one of those top prospects for Oklahoma, was on campus last weekend. That's all he talks about is the relationship he has with Miguel Chavis, and David Stone is no different. If you're asking me if I have confidence in Miguel Chavis to win out these recruitments, with Brent Venables certainly helping in the background, I certainly believe in it. And if you're looking at what this class could be for Oklahoma in 2024, yeah, right, it's off to a slow start with only 6 commitments, only 1 guy in the top 100. There is a very real possibility that David Stone and Williams Emaneri, the 2 top defensive linemen in the class, are committed in signing with Oklahoma at the end of December. And that you're talking about Oklahoma maybe having a top 10 class to maybe Oklahoma having a top 5 class if they can get some of those guys in the fold. That's the priority one. I don't think you're getting a commitment from David Stone, but you're obviously continuing to build that relationship and build traction with David Stone as you go into the summer months. Again, Williams Emaneri, David Stone, certainly the top two prospects on Oklahoma's board in terms of priority. But going down the list, that is not the only, especially on the defensive line. I guess we'll stick with that position. Dominic McKinley, another five-star defensive lineman who has freak traits, 6'5", 280. LSU considered to be in the lead there, but I mean, there is something to be said about him scheduling his visit for Champion Barbecue weekend. Dominic McKinley certainly, and just another guy that you have an axe in the fire for in terms of getting him locked up National Signing Day. A couple other guys that I think Oklahoma might have a little bit more of traction for. Joseph Ajone, defensive lineman from Texas, was seemingly about to commit to Oklahoma. A lot to like about him. And you're seeing Brent Venables go after the bigger body guys, right? These guys could, like David Stone or Williams Emaneri, they are not. You saw them go get PJ Adebawore in the 2023 class. He's much more of the burstier, bendier type. In this class, you're seeing him go much more after the heavy-handed guys who are going to be able to go right through tackles, be versatile, be able to play that three-tech, be able to play outside the tackle. And Joseph Ajone is certainly one of those guys that took a visit to Georgia. All of a sudden, it seems like Oklahoma's on the back burner and Georgia's in the front runner for his recruitment. That being said, I think it's such a fickle season where these guys take visits. They all of a sudden get really, really excited about going to Athens. And then he's going to be in Norman this weekend. And he's going to be really, really excited about Norman when it comes Monday and he's recapping his visit. So, yes, Georgia's seemingly in a good spot, but I certainly wouldn't take Oklahoma to be out of it. The guy that I think you're most excited for in terms of commitment watch is Nigel Smith. He's a guy that's been kind of Oklahoma's top target for a while. Another one of those bigger body dudes, 6'4", 265 pounds, that probably when he gets to Oklahoma can play that three-tech, can play that edge. Another top 100 national dude on the defensive line. Oklahoma is in it for pretty much every single top defensive lineman in the whole entire country. And what does that tell you? It tells you Brent Venables wants to recruit this position in a meaningful way. And it's hard to see a world where Nigel Smith, Williams Emaneri, or David Stone, at least not one of them, is in this class as you wrap it up in December. And I don't think it's crazy to say all three of them are in that class. And you're talking about three top 100 defensive linemen who can do a lot of different things. I know it's been a slow start for Oklahoma, but holy smokes, it really could still be a very special class. The next position I want to pivot to is this running back spot where Taylor Tatum comes off a visit to Southern Cal, the number one running back in the whole entire country. Going back to what we talked about with having those young position coaches that are ace recruiters, DeMarco Murray has also been a guy that is just getting it done on the recruiting trail. Taylor Caden Durham, I don't know if you get them both. I certainly think you could because you're going away from having that one bell cow. I think most running backs now kind of say, I want to go to the NFL. I don't want to be a guy that's going into the NFL draft having 350 carries in my career. So I don't think running backs are as nervous or as skeptical about signing with another good running back in the same class. But it is hard to see Oklahoma not leaving with maybe one of those commitments. It does seem like USC with most of the traction in that one, but Caden Durham from Duncanville, Texas, man, if it's a toss-up, you have a kid from Texas and it's between Oklahoma and LSU, give me DeMarco Murray in that recruitment. Caden Durham, I almost like Caden Durham more than Taylor Tatum. I'm not going to pretend to be a high school scout by any means, but dude flies. He has a thick lower half. Kind of checks off all the boxes that you really want in a running back. Now, another very interesting guy that I don't think Oklahoma is necessarily in the lead for. It's a position that they've recruited very well. They've developed really well. You talk about a guy like Anton Harrison going in the first round of the NFL draft. The offensive tackle spot. Bennett Warren from the state of Texas, really trending to Michigan. Here's the caveat, and as a Michigan fan, Michigan already has 5 offensive linemen locked into that class. They said they'll take 6 at the max. So if Bennett Warren doesn't commit to Michigan relatively soon, it does seem like Michigan might be off the board, even though he might want to go there. And so if that happens, Ben Biedenhaw, I wouldn't really count out Oklahoma for the commitment of Bennett Warren, another top 200 dude that you can't really teach that 6'7", 330-pound trait. The one other position that I want to talk about that I think is maybe a little bit of a concern for Oklahoma is that linebacker spot. I think you saw Oklahoma put a lot of their eggs into one basket, or 2 baskets, I should say, with Sammy Brown and Peyton Pierce. Losing both of those commitments as of right now. It seems like Sammy Brown might be locked into Clemson. Peyton Pierce a guy that I certainly would not put it past Oklahoma to flip later in the process. But James Nesta, seemingly now, because Easton Baker, another one of those 3 stars that Oklahoma really wanted, committed to Illinois. So this linebacker class is suddenly like, you got to start maybe sending out some more offers or really winning some of these recruiting battles. James Nesta from North Carolina, taking his official to UNC, I believe last weekend he did. He seems to be a guy that kind of now all of a sudden more of a priority for Oklahoma. And this is a position that Brent Venables should be able to recruit at a high level. Going back to his development and days at Clemson, developed a lot of really, really good linebackers. So James Nesta in that linebacker position is just another one of those positions that I think Oklahoma fans should certainly keep an eye on. But you take a look at just the talent that'll be, and we didn't even talk about Terry Bussey, who, man, like he's a quarterback that has a 64% completion percentage, threw for over 2,000 yards, ran for like another 1,300 yards, also had 100 tackles on defense. Top athlete in the country for good reason. Like, this dude's just a freak. Whatever position he's going to play at college, he's going to play it at a high level. I don't know if they're necessarily in that commitment, but again, getting him on campus is going to mean a lot. Oklahoma has a lot of axes in the fire, and I get that it's been kind of a slower start for the Sooners in terms of that 2024 class, but you even rewind to the 2023 class, this is when it started to pick up for Oklahoma anyways. And so when you're going after these top guys, you're sometimes not always going to get that early commitment. But again, it does seem like Oklahoma has a lot of traction for these top players in the 2024 class. And I don't think it's, man, I go back to it. I really don't think it's crazy that Oklahoma finishes with David Stone and Williams Nwaneri in the same class. And you talk about a team that is sitting outside the top 35 nationally for their recruiting class. I mean, that would go meaningful way in having you end up as a top 8, top 5 class. So Sooner fans, massive weekend. We'll do our best to keep you guys updated on that front. Appreciate you guys always rocking with the fellas. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.